Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Prime Minister hints at tighter measures following confirmation. Education Ministry adamant that schools will resume come September. Jamaica wins first medal at World Athletics Under-20 Championships in Nairobi, Kenya. I'm Shane Masters. Here are the details. There has been a sharp rise in the number of persons hospitalized with COVID-19 in Jamaica. Admissions have increased to 559 from 494 on Tuesday. 36 patients are critically ill. Meanwhile, the island's COVID-19 positivity rate has increased. On Wednesday, the positivity rate stood at 41.9%. According to the Health Ministry, the country recorded 555 new cases of the coronavirus from 2,184 samples. The total case count is 59,932. There are 10,617 active cases on the island, and the virus has claimed 3 more lives, increasing the death toll to 1,342. The deaths were recorded in Kingston and St. Andrew, St. Thomas, and Clarendon. And with confirmation of the presence of a Delta variant in Jamaica, Prime Minister Andrew Holness has given another indication that tighter COVID-19 measures could be coming. On Wednesday, the Health Ministry announced it received 40 results from 60 samples sent for testing for the Delta variant. 22 came back positive. Mr. Holness says the country is struggling with the presence of the Delta variant, which could be blamed for the rise in infections.
We are now at a point where the government has to consider even further tightening up, because it is clear that the messages that we have been communicating regarding personal responsibility, wearing of masks, social distancing, keeping and observing the curfew hours, limited movement, limited events, that these messages are not being heeded.
He says the government is not keen on such a move, but it is necessary.
We understand the impact that it has on livelihoods and freedoms. However, there is also a clear and present danger, a real threat to lives and livelihoods and freedoms if we are not able to contain this third wave of the pandemic outbreak of the coronavirus and the COVID-19 disease that it causes in Jamaica.
He was speaking today at a ceremony at the Norman Manley International Airport following the arrival of a donation of the COVID-19 Pfizer vaccine from the United States. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Education is expecting a significant take-up of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine among students based on the results of a survey conducted among parents. Jamaica today received its first shipment of the vaccine from the U.S. More than 200,000 doses will be used to vaccinate children 12 years and older.
We're happy to report that when asked if they would give consent for their child or ward to take the 2 doses of the Pfizer vaccines 3 weeks apart, approximately 59% of parents are willing to have their child or ward vaccinated. More important, when asked if they accompany their child or ward to be vaccinated, and they as parents are not vaccinated, would they be willing to be vaccinated along with their child or ward? And 64% of parents said they're willing to be vaccinated along with their children.
Details on the administering of the Pfizer vaccine will be provided at a media briefing later today. The donation from the U.S. represents the first tranche of 600,000 doses to be delivered in 3 months. And ahead of that Education Ministry press conference, renewed calls for teachers and students to take the vaccine. Education Minister Favour Williams says the plan is for face-to-face classes to resume in mid-September for high school students. She was addressing the 57th Annual Conference of the Jamaica Teachers Association yesterday. Krista Campbell reports.
Over 60% of teachers already vaccinated. Education Minister Favour Williams says she's now more optimistic about a safe start to the new school term come September 6.
We'll be using our audiovisual learning. We'll be using our printed learning package or kits. But by mid-September, we believe and we are encouraging and prioritizing more of the personnel in the education sector, or administrative staff, or groundsmen, or cooks, or cleaners, or security men and women, or maintenance persons to be vaccinated, thus allowing us to start our face-to-face.
But there's been worry about whether it is truly safe to send students back to school while COVID cases are rising. And now the first confirmation of the Delta strain of the coronavirus in Jamaica. But the education minister says she's encouraged by the expected start of vaccination of children 12 years and older this coming weekend.
Given the timeline for vaccination of our 12-year-olds and older, face-to-face teaching and learning in our high schools is targeted for early to mid-October. So between September 6th and mid-October, we will be using the three modalities I just described for our high schools.
Meanwhile, with the observation of COVID protocols still being pushed, she stressed that all students will still not be allowed at school at the same time and has cautioned school administrators.
Schools at the primary level are advised to prioritize students without devices and students without internet connectivity, while at the same time rotating so that all students have a chance to have some face-to-face engagement with their teachers.
Krista Campbell, TVJ News.
In the meantime, the St. Mary Public Health Department is calling for councillors in the St. Mary Municipal Corporation to assist in getting more persons to take the vaccine. Shamala Pullen reports.
St. Mary's the parish with the third lowest COVID-19 cases. So far, the parish has recorded a little over 1,800 cases. Also, over 13,000 persons have taken up the vaccine.
8,145 individuals have received their first dose, and we have 5,891 second doses which were due. However, only 5,571 persons from that list of persons who are due for vaccination have been vaccinated to date, which is a difference of 320 persons, and it takes us to a 94.6%.
But even so, Samantha Anderson Ashley from the St. Mary Public Health Department says the parish has a positivity rate of over 10%. She says this is way too high. And so the Public Health Department has decided to partner with local government officials to get more persons to take the vaccine.
We're asking if you can assist us in mobilizing your communities so that they can be vaccinated. So if you are able to get a number of 50 persons or more to sign up for vaccination, the department is willing to deploy a team for the vaccinations to be done within the community.
The move has also been endorsed by Mayor of Port Maria, Richard Creary.
Very important, because I know a number of us persons have been telling us how too far and it is. Although we are in a position to provide transportation, we're getting those excuses. So when it comes closer to them, I think it will be easier to encourage them to go and do the vaccination. So I think what Dr. Henry told me, they need a list of the 50 names.
Yes.
Or 50 or more.
Yes.
Before they will come into the community.
Shamala Pullen, TVJ News.
And it's time for a break here on the Midday News. Stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. A small hotel operator in Montego Bay, St. James says while he supports the government's tightening the restrictions on movement and travel, he's very concerned about how it will affect tourism and businesses. Krista Campbell reports.
An uptick in COVID-19 cases and a downturn in visitors at Deja Resort in Montego Bay, St. James. General Manager Robin Russell says 2 to 3 weeks ago, hotel bookings were high. However, he's not sure the pandemic is the reason for the sudden decline.
Personally, my hotel has started to see a slowdown. Traditionally, August, September, October are slow months in tourism. So we're not sure if it is the spikes that's happening in the States or just back to school.
But with tighter curfew measures and other stricter protocols expected, he's concerned about the impact on his business.
No one wants to travel to a country that has had a spike. Nobody wants to be quarantined in Jamaica. Nobody wants to get COVID here and have to go back to and get quarantined there. A lot of the small hotels don't have elaborate kitchens, so they depend on restaurants and neighboring businesses to support their infrastructure. So they are going to feel the crunch even more than the bigger hotels.
And while he's not pleased with the tighter restrictions, he says he supports the COVID protocols and is encouraging others to do the same so the country can return to normal.
We all have to be responsible, and some of the parties that were kept were not done responsibly. We are the only persons that really feel the brunt when it doesn't happen. We are the ones that lose the business. We are the ones that don't go to work. So it's really for us to support the protocols and ensure that it works.
He's also urging hotel workers and other industry players to get vaccinated as the best way to guarantee the safe reopening of the sector. Krista Campbell, TVJ News.
The opposition People's National Party is calling for the appointment of someone to spearhead Jamaica's disaster management agency. This follows the passage of Tropical Storm Grace and criticisms that the public was not adequately informed about the storm.
Sections of eastern Jamaica were at the mercy of Tropical Storm Grace on Tuesday, which caused major flooding, traffic delays and disruption of businesses and services. But there are those who believe that the relevant agencies did not do enough to warn the nation. The Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, is responsible for identifying disaster threats and creating plans to reduce the impact to lives and livelihoods. Speaking on Power 106's Morning Agenda, Acting Director General of ODPEM, Richard Thompson.
What we would have seen in terms of the bulletins and also the projection, we weren't expecting that kind of track to be so close to us. So
so you were caught off guard then?
No, we weren't caught off guard. It's not saying caught off guard. The preparation was still in place, so we would have activated all our shelter management process. Would have activated the National Emergency Operations Center.
But unlike previous storms, there were no text messages sent to the public. ODPEM announced through its Twitter page on August 14 that Tropical Storm Grace was formed. Then 2 days later, on Monday, August 16, that Jamaica would be under threat. And less than 24 hours later, photos and videos of the disaster flooded social media.
No man, this weather is dangerous man right now. You know, say this weather is serious man. You know, see lit down the wall of the tree, they block up all the road right now, we can't pass.
The Met Service, which is responsible for producing the weather forecasts, also received criticisms from the public. But Director Evan Thompson says the information was available. He admitted that more could have been done to notify the public, but the Met Service does not have a communications department.
The same persons who do the forecasts, the same persons who get inundated by the phone calls are the ones who have to prepare the warning messages. So it is very difficult for that kind of management of a Twitter page or social media generally.
Meanwhile, opposition spokesperson on local government Denise Daly is calling on Cabinet to make a decision on the appointment of a Director General for ODPEM. Richard Thompson is currently acting in the post.
It's too long now. We have been acting. It's time for us to get a permanent director so that we can have sustainable plan, development plan put in place. And we should not be talking about catching off guard now with any kind of natural disaster. So I'm therefore appealing to the government to step up the game.
Javon Keys, TVJ News.
And for the latest in the world of business, here's Codian Barrett with a Business Minute.
In business news, JetCon reported a profit of $6 million for the second quarter ended June, a turnaround from a $6.8 million loss in the same period in 2020. The company's management said it has benefited from the opening up of the Jamaican economy, with revenues for the quarter increasing 143% from 86 million in the depressed second quarter in 2020 to 208.7 million in 2021. And in business internationally, Afghanistan's currency tumbled to record lows this week as the Taliban took control of the impoverished nation and a shortage of US dollars sets off panic. The Afghani traded to 68 per US dollar on Wednesday, down sharply from about 80 a week ago. The currency plunge reflects concern about the future of Afghanistan after the capital of Kabul fell into the hands of the Taliban.
Now for the top regional and international stories. In news from the region, Director of the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, Dr. Carissa Etienne, is calling for the international community to meet Haiti's immense need for medical personnel, supplies, equipment, and patient transportation. The call comes as a death toll from the magnitude 7.2 earthquake last Saturday surpassed the 2,000 mark, with thousands more in. Dr. Eduardo Ali has been appointed as the Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the CXC. In a release, the CXC said that Dr. Ali will be pivotal as the regional examination body embarks on its transformational agenda within the context of the 2021-2025 strategic plan. The CXC said the Deputy CEO will lead and strategically manage the Western Zone office in Jamaica. News overseas, the death toll as a result of Myanmar's coup in February this year has topped 1,000. Security forces have also reportedly detained thousands amid the ongoing crackdown, with widespread reports of torture. The army overthrew elected leader Aung San Suu Kyi, alleging irregularities in an election swept by her National League for Democracy party in November 2020. And that's it for the top regional and international stories. We head to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your midday sports report. Renata Brown is standing by.
Welcome back. It's now time for your midday sports. Now, Edwin Allen standout Tina Clayton struck gold in the women's 100 meters as Jamaica secured its first medal of the 2021 World Under-20 Championships in Nairobi, Kenya. Clayton recorded a personal best of 11.09 seconds to become only the fourth Jamaican to win the women's 100-meter title in the history of the Under-20 Championships. Clayton finished ahead of pre-race favourite Beatrice Masalingi of Namibia in 11.39. Another Jamaican in Kirika Hill ended 7th in 11.67 seconds. In the meantime, Kobe Lawrence was not able to add to Jamaica's medal tally on day 2 as he finished 8th in the men's shot put final with a best throw of 18.32 meters. Over in the women's triple jump preliminaries, Akila Smith advanced to the finals as she cut the sand at 12.99 meters. Despite not getting the automatic qualifying mark of 13.20 meters, Smith had the 7th best jump. Meanwhile, all 5 Jamaicans made progress to the next round of their respective event in the morning session on day 2 of the World Under-20 Championships in Kenya earlier today. Gabrielle White was the first Jamaican on the track, and she won Heat 2 of the women's 400-meter hurdles in 58.65 seconds to advance to the final. Moesha Bridgeton will also be in Sunday's final as she finished second in Heat 3 in 58.88 seconds. In the men's equivalent, Rashawn Clark produced a personal best of 50.93 to win Heat 1, while Devonte Archer won Heat 4 in 52.17 seconds. Class 1 800-meter champion at Champs 2021, Edwin Allen's Shavonne Hall, is through to the semifinals of the 2-lap event after finishing 3rd in Heat 2 in 1 minute 49.47 seconds. In football, head coach Andrew Peart says logistical challenges associated with COVID-19 made things difficult to select Jamaica's under-15 team for the Challenge Cup in the Dominican Republic. The team departs later today and will oppose St. Lucia in their opening match on Sunday, but Peart says they had to be strategic in selecting the 18-member squad.
Managed to have small group selection IDs going through the parish associations, and when we came up with a provisional list of 35 players, we kind of arranged some more small group training based on geographic location. So a few training sessions in the parishes, and then we had some regional ones in terms of Confed, and then we had 1 or 2 training sessions in terms of the rural area players, and then the next 1 or 2 for the urban area players.
Peart added that more work was done off the field than on it. And finally, reggae boy Darren Mattox has ended his 6-month spell on the African continent and has joined United Soccer League club Phoenix Rising FC until the end of the season, joining countryman Kevin Lambert. The 30-year-old returns to North America after ending his spell with Sudanese club Al Merrick. Previously, Mattox played with the Vancouver Whitecaps, Portland Timbers, DC United and FC Cincinnati before his move to Africa. Mattox has scored 18 goals in 50 appearances for the Reggae Boys. And just before we go, Tokyo 2020 has confirmed the first COVID-19 case in the Athletes' Village prior to the start of the Paralympic Games on Tuesday, August 24. The latest figures provided confirmed 60 new cases in total, with 1 recorded inside the Athletes' Village and 15 outside. No athletes have tested positive. 3 cases have been attributed to Games-concerned personnel, which covers those affiliated with the International Olympic Committee, the International Paralympic Committee, National Olympic Committees, the National Paralympic Committees, and international federations. 1 Tokyo 2020 employee has also contracted COVID-19, while the remaining 12 new cases are from Tokyo 2020 contractors. 4 of the confirmed cases are non-residents of Japan, while 12 live in the host nation. And that's it for your Midday Sports. O'Shane, it's back to you.
Thanks, Ronaldo. And that's the Midday News. I'm O'Shane Masters. Join us at 7 for primetime news on behalf of the news, sports, and production teams. Good afternoon.